They talk about anchor babies. You know, how can he talks about a 9-month pregnant Chinese women are flying into the United States in Hindenburg like balloons and dropping babies like we dropped nuclear bombs. That's not happening. Forget about even if it's happening. Even if, for argument's sake, that's an executive enforcement question. Do you know immigration officers at the airport? They have almost unrestricted, unbridled power to deny any non-citizen from entering into the United States without any judicial review. They could do that. This is a very simple executive enforcement question that can be solved very easily. You can spot pregnant women very easily, and you can adjust their length of stay here, and you can do all kinds of gymnastics, policy gymnastics, to get rid of some loopholes. There is no policy on this planet, no matter how good or bad the policy, there's no policy which is immune to loopholes. It is the job of the executive, it is the job of Trump to make sure that these loopholes are not exploited. Obviously, he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't even want you to know that it's his job to stop these type of anchor baby type of situations from happening, if it is happening at anywhere close to the scale that it is happening, which I highly doubt. But we'll give them, for argument's sake, we'll give them. You don't throw baby out with the bathwater. Just because you can't police the airport terminals doesn't mean that I'm going to get rid of 14th Amendment. Because 14th Amendment is beyond citizenship. 14th Amendment says for everybody, you got to have rights if the government has enforcement agency over you. You got to have rights to protect yourself, your babies. Because what used to happen is if a king is walking down the street and he spots your wife and he likes it, he can just take her. There's nothing you can do. This type of situation, this is what 14th Amendment talks about. And you know what? Congress doesn't want you to know another thing. And I mentioned that in my previous video. They don't want you to know that as part of 14th Amendment, they have the power to control and to regulate who is and is not part of the jurisdiction. They can define. Framers gave that power to Congress, and by Congress indirectly to the people, because you elect who forms Congress. And Congress has done that in the past. Diplomats, they were not by default out of jurisdiction. Diplomats, these are the emissaries from other countries, ambassadors, consulars from other countries who are in the United States. If they have a baby in the United States, that's not a citizen. Because Congress wrote into law multiple times, revising it, making it refined, that diplomats are not considered part of the jurisdiction. And therefore, if a diplomat commits a crime, they're pretty much immune from US jurisdiction because they don't have the right to become a citizen. They don't get to be within the umbrella of your jurisdiction either. So you can't do jack if they commit a crime in the US other than just sending them back home and hoping that the justice is served in their home country, or if you have some sort of an extradition treaty with the home country, you could negotiate their return back for trial, if the case is like that, or geopolitics dictates. The home country is not obligated to send one of their own back to your country for trial. That's the immunity diplomats get. That's the same immunity Native Americans or Native Indians used to get until, which is the right thing to do, Indian Citizenship Act. Congress decided to get or rope Indians into the jurisdiction. So now, even if an Indian is born on an Indian reservation or a tribal reservation, they're still American citizens, obviously. So Congress has done that in the past. If Congress, obviously they know a lot about economy, they talk to people, they talk to industry leaders, right? They talk to the CEOs, they talk to everybody, right? You and I, we may not have the time to talk to everybody because we have 3 kids. They need to go to daycare. We need to spend money on them. We don't have time for this. They have time. So they know what's good for the country and what's not, but they also know what's good for their politics. So Congress could just, if immigrants were so fucking horrible, if undocumented immigrants were the scourge of the earth, they were the reason that your life was miserable, as Benny Johnson, the underwear Johnson says, they can just write a law tomorrow and say that undocumented immigrants or any class of immigrants that they're not a big fan of are not part of the US jurisdiction, and 14th Amendment is just automatically going to take care of the rest of them.